Have you ever taken the time to observe honeybees? Well, if you do, you'll notice that each bee has a very specific goal in mind: honey. What's interesting is the exchange that takes place between the bee and the land or the flower. While the bee uses the flower's resources for the food production and shelter, at the same time it pollinates it, thus creating a mutual exchange. Neither organism is slighted or takes more than is necessary to survive. Everyone has enough. I began to think about the way a bee interacts with the environment compared to the way we as humans interact with our environment. It's amazing that bees have survived for millions of years with such a simple goal in mind. Can the same be said about human beings?
In the last 60 years, we've seen a dramatic shift in agriculture from local to global in a systematic fashion. Small-scale farmers have been hard-pressed to compete with the superior production and low prices of industrial agriculture. And so food production has effectively outsourced from the local to the global, as small community farms and businesses are outcompeted.
As the global human population has skyrocketed over the past decades and industrialism has progressed, one type of agriculture that was entirely dependent on synthetic inputs and mechanization became the norm. It soon began to dominate the industry due to its high yields and profitability in the age of cheap oil. In a few short decades, sustainable artisan farms were stomped out and forgotten, and people began to believe that all farms were factory farms, that totalitarian agriculture was agriculture. This deception is the basis of our global food crisis, and we have come today to expose this for the myth that it is.
How can small-scale farmers compete with the supermarkets that seem to be endlessly filled with inexpensive food? Commercial complexes have largely become the norm, and we tend to take this for granted. As local food production waned, it was paralleled by the expansion of suburbia. What we can observe today is the dense housing complexes with a population dependent on an imported network of lifelines like food, water, and energy. And still more, the reliability of these essential lifelines are largely out of our control. The leap into the fast-paced oil age felt natural and unstoppable, but it has left us lacking in vital areas that are close to home.
The environmental issues of our time, such as destruction of biodiversity, climate destabilization, may be intimidating, as though there's nothing we can do to change the outcome. I don't know what we can do about a 50% loss in oceanic phytoplankton. I don't know what we can do.
Industrial agriculture, under the inebriating influence of liberal supplies of cheap oil, has ultimately undermined the fabric of local community. Without cheap oil, the system may fail at its foundation, and it is a system we have been made dependent on. If food flows become more expensive or inconsistent, what we have to fall back on cannot support the needs of our oversaturated populations. We have no backup plan for food security. It has left the local resilience of communities in tatters.
The damage our environment has suffered as a result of industrial civilization has been critical and is approaching a disastrous threshold. For this reason, new radical forms of ecologic agriculture must be embraced now.
This is Maui Gardens, the land that the Roots acquired in Smithfield, Rhode Island. After the fundraiser, I decided I wanted to document them over the course of a year. I visited the farm again to recall my experiences. As I was walking through the farm, I stopped at the shed that was built for storage. It was strange seeing the finished product after witnessing the amount of work that went into such a simple project. I was astounded by the amount of labor necessary to sustain a farm.
I gotta do a couple circles around the tree. Yeah, like a nice little and basically it's all in pieces over there right now. Built it in the barn. Now we're going to set it here, and there's going to be a slight roof pitch going back that way, so that way the sun will go across and our photovoltaic cells, can't talk this morning, will be in the sun all day. And that's why we're cutting down all the trees so it gets more sun. One, two. If you want to get up there, you just hold both of those in. What did I tell you, Jake? What did I tell you? Yeah, no, we definitely, like I said, we'll go up in 10 minutes if we can get it up. Yeah.
Another project that stood out to me was the day that they spent planting trees.
You want tree spaded again? Cool. Every one of us does a little side project work. Like all just the little things that you don't really think about that much that it takes to get the trees in the ground.
Little stuff every day.
What?
Little stuff, just little stuff there.
Like,
It's always on our mind.
This conversation reminded me that Maury Gardens wasn't the only farm that they were undertaking. Tyler had also been teaching a class on sustainable agriculture and was involved with another major project at the University of Rhode Island's Peckham Farm.
rototill that and plant the squash, rototill that and dig the holes and plant in the raised bed frames and finish the raised bed frames.
Tyler, you have another drill, but you don't have another drill head. Go ready?
Correct.
We're going 2 feet diagonally that way.
It all seems like insanity sometimes.
Yeah.
The list is so long and the time scale is so short, but this is our class, this is my job.
I couldn't fathom how the group managed to juggle so many projects in such a small amount of time. All the while, they were doing their best to spread awareness to the general community. The group hosted a fall festival to gain support, further educate the public, and showcase their progress in the past year. What immediately grabbed my attention at the festival was the varying groups of people who were there supporting the group in their farm. Not only were there young high school and college kids, but also teachers, parents, and other adults who had dedicated their time to helping them.
Today we're having hip-fire chicken with some roasted potatoes, and it's been cooking for a couple hours now. It should be done pretty soon. And
What are you guys doing?
I was just selling some artwork that I made.
How do you guys know these guys?
My brother, he helps with the whole foundation.
Well, we have tiles that we made that are, I guess this is first annual Evening of the Arts, so it's a tradition we'll get kids to make. But we're gonna build this kiln, and then you wrap the pieces in different combustibles: orange peels, banana peels, pine needles. We have decorating washes, copper carbonate and iron oxide, and then depending on the magic of the fire, it'll get combined with charcoal smolder, and then tomorrow we'll come and take them out and see what we get.
That's cool. And now, how'd you get involved with these guys?
A lot of these guys are students of mine. I teach at the high school.
Wow.
So former students.
current students.
As the festival continued, I realized that I had never felt such a strong sense of community. It was inspiring.
Hey, hey, hazel eyes, you were there to touch the sky.
Now, I just want to recognize what everyone here has done this year. With this foundation, it really stands for what everybody would like for their kids to be doing. I mean, this is all about a sustainable environment and getting the community together. So this is really just a great job that you guys did all year long. If you saw how hard they worked out in the fields and where things have come to date, it's just remarkable, the job that they've done. So I wanted to recognize this is such a great organization that off to such a great start. So thank you very much. This is just the beginning too. We're going to make this an annual event. It's going to be a big thing.
Once he said that, I realized that this group was doing something that would motivate others to change. The Smithfield community wasn't there because they had to be. They were there because they wanted to be. Because they believed in what these young farmers were doing. Not only had the group provided an alternative to the way our culture views food production, but they had also gained support from the local community and created an example for others to follow. The group even motivated me to want to change. Not to stand around and wait for something to happen, but to act now. Even if it was just small steps.